Join Dickie Davis for this week's edition of Sportsmasters.
Welcome again to Sportsmasters, an opportunity for three more enthusiasts to display their considerable grasp of sporting facts and figures. Of course, the immediate goal is a place in the quarterfinals, but ultimately their eyes must be on that Sportsmasters title and trophy. So we're going to meet now the three players who are going to cope with the general, visual and specialised sporting rounds. And first, it's Hugh.
Hello, Dickie. I'm Hugh Larkin. I'm from Goole, North Humberside, where I'm a part-time lecturer in Southeast Asian Studies.
But you've actually co-written a couple of sports books, haven't you? On what?
One's general football, one's cricket quiz book.
A quiz book?
So if there's anybody, publishers in the audience.
Oh, no commercials. Right, next it's Richard.
Good afternoon. I'm Richard Whitehead. I'm a sales director with a property services company. I'm married with two children, Michael, aged 6, and Daniel, aged 4.
You used to be a policeman, didn't you?
Yes, I did many
leave?
years ago, but I became a bit too fat for the thin blue line.
Ah, right. And finally it's Bill. Bill.
Good afternoon, Dickie. My name is Bill Hatch. I'm a serving soldier in the Royal Army Pay Corps. Originally a Cornishman, I now live in Canterbury.
And I gather your heart's in Cornwall.
My heart's in Cornwall, but we have no football league teams there, so I'm a Tottenham supporter.
You really do have your problems, don't you? Well, there we are, our three challengers. Three challenges, ladies and gentlemen. Today's winner will receive £50 worth of sporting goods, and I'll tell you about the winners of the prizes in the quarterfinals and the semis later on in the programme. So it's visual first, and we set off with gymnastics and a supreme artist at work on the parallel bars.
Vladimir Artyomov, silver medalist in 1985 in the World Championships, bronze medalist in Rotterdam last November. Russian balance. Artyomov, an absolutely superb gymnast, has had to live in the shadow of Yuri Korolyov. They both come from the same club, but he really has been a great servant to the Russian team.
Yes, matchless performance by Artyomov there. And your first question, Hugh. Artyomov's compatriot, who won 3 gold medals at Seoul, was also the youngest world champion when winning in '83. Can you name him?
I haven't a clue.
That's honest. It's Bilet Serchev. Bilet Serchev. Your question then, Richard. Who was the Russian who won a medal in all 8 categories in the same Olympics in 1980?
Ivanov?
No, it was Dityatin. And your question, Bill, which Russian won a record equaling 6 individual goals from 1972 to 80 and finished with a record 15 medals in all?
Adrianov?
Andrianov is correct, 2 points. Right, eyes down again. Here's another bit of action. Racing this time, and one of the victories that established Sea Pigeon as an aristocrat among hurdlers.
Bird's Nest now setting light for home. And Royal Mail now beginning to lose touch, but here comes Sea Pigeon. He's chopping down the leeway, but Bird's Nest full of running as they run now towards the final quarter mile, being pursued by Sea Pigeon. Sea Pigeon, who seems to be cruising up, but Bird's Nest still has the best yard, and they come now into the final one. But Sea Pigeon, they're right on terms. They come now towards the final flight, but Bird's Nest is over first. Sea Pigeon on the near side, and they've now gone clear the other two. They've got about 100 yards still to go, and it's Bird's Nest on the far side. Sea Pigeon fighting hard, and as Sea Pigeon now goes into the lead, and Sea Pigeon now takes it, and as they come towards the line, Sea Pigeon wins it from Bird's Nest, and those two finish a long way clear of Royal Mail.
Well, Hugh, in 1981, Sea Pigeon became the oldest winner of the champion hurdle. Who rode him then?
John Joe O'Neill?
It was John Frankham. John Frankham. The horse, by the way, was also successful on the flat. I don't know whether you knew that, Richard. There's a question on it anyway. Sea Pigeon won successive Chester Cups. Do you know who was ridden by then?
Pat Edery.
No, it was Mark Birch. And Bill, Sea Pigeon completed in the 1973 Derby, finishing 7th. Which horse won that race, the 73 Derby?
Snow Knight.
It was Morstan. No points there. Right, now it's soccer. And I'm sure it's a sigh of relief there amongst the three of them. It's football to finish the round. As I say, there is no commentary, so watch very carefully indeed. Well, the style should give you a clue, Hugh. Who scored those 4 goals?
No.
It was Ian Rush. Ian Rush. Yes, I thought you might be surprised. From which club did Liverpool sign him, Richard?
Juventus.
No. From Chester. From Chester. And Bill, Ian once scored 5 times in a Div 1 game for Liverpool. Who were their opponents?
Luton Town.
Luton Town is right. 2 points. 2 points. Difficult questions. And as we look at the scores, we see that 2 of our players have yet to open their accounts. Hugh Larkin hasn't scored, nor is Richard Whitehead. But the leader at the moment with 4 points is Bill Hatch. Right, here we go. Here we go. And the theme of the second round, general sporting round, this, disqualified or banned. Disqualified or banned. Now, here's a question for you, Richard. Against which club was Paul Davis given an 8-week ban last season?
Southampton.
Correct, 2 points. You're underway. Bill, who was banned in 1980 for striking John Horton at Twickenham?
Gareth Joker.
It was Paul Ringer. Paul Ringer. And your question, Hugh, which British athlete received a ban for life in 1988?
Jeff Guttridge. 2
points. Now, a picture for all of you in succession. Here's yours coming up in just a second, Richard. There's no doubt as to who this person is. It's Ben Johnson in the centre there, but whose 100-metre record did Ben Johnson first beat?
Carl Lewis's.
It was Calvin Smith. Calvin Smith. Your picture coming up now. Bill, here it is. Who is this man who was disqualified? There are clues there that should give you the answer.
Ayrton Senna.
Ayrton Senna is correct. Number 1 on the front should tell you who it was. And for you, Hugh, what incident was this?
Is it Gypsy John Frankham?
Bobby Frankham, I accept it. Yes, striking the referee. That's Richie Davis after being stopped. You've got the incident, and I accept that. 2 points for you. Another question for you, Richard. For which team was Ian Botham playing when he was sacked in Australia?
Queensland.
Correct, 2 points. Bill, which former Derbyshire player captained both West Indian rebel cricket teams to South Africa and received a life ban? No?
McLeoding.
It was Lawrence Rowe. And which recent British heavyweight champion, Hugh, was banned on health grounds?
Pearce.
David Pearce is correct. 2 points. Right, let's have a look at the scores now. They've changed quite considerably. We see that in third place with 4 points is Richard Whitehead in the centre, but sharing the lead with 6 points now is Hugh Larkin and Bill Hatch. Now, Bill, who comes from Canterbury, we're going to start the questioning with you, Bill. I know athletics is your chosen sport, and we're going to question you on the mile, the men's mile. You have 60 seconds to answer as many questions as you can and increase that score of 6. Your 60 seconds start now. Where was the first mile run under 3 minutes 50 seconds?
Helsinki.
It was Gothenburg. Who holds the world indoor record for the mile?
Eamon Cochran.
Correct. Who was second on the last occasion that Sebco broke the world mile record?
Gonzalez.
Mike Boyce. Where in London did Sidney Waterson break the world mile record?
White City.
Motspur Park. When Bannister and Landy broke their world mile records, who was second on both occasions?
Chataway.
Correct. How many days did Steve Ovett's world record last on the second occasion that he broke that record?
10.
Just 2 days. Who broke the world mile record in Rennes, northern France?
No idea.
Michel Yazi. Where was the last world mile record broken outside Europe?
United States.
Kingston. Who broke the world record the last time it was set in London?
Derek Ibbotson.
Correct, 2 points. How many times did the Swedes Haag and Anderson break the world record?
3 times each.
6 is correct. Who was the second fastest mile of all time to his name?
Said Oita.
Said is right. 2 more points and your score goes to 16 points. Right, here it's your turn now. Football is your favourite sport, as we've heard, and you're going to ask some questions now on Brazil. Brazil, some people would say that's the home of football at the moment. So your 60 seconds starts now. Who is Brazil's manager?
Don't know.
Lazzaroni. Who scored Brazil's last goal in a World Cup final?
Carlos Alberto.
Correct, 2 points. What was the score when England played Brazil at Wembley in '87?
1-1.
Correct. Who is the only Brazilian to play league football?
Mirandinha.
Correct, 2 points. For which leading Italian club do the Brazilians Alemão and Careca play?
Napoli.
Correct. Where have Brazil finished in the last 2 Olympic soccer tournaments?
Second.
Correct. How many times have England beaten Brazil?
Never.
Twice. Which Englishman scored after a solo run from halfway against Brazil in Rio in '84?
John Barnes.
Correct. Who scored the only goal of the '89 South American Championship final versus Uruguay?
Romario.
Correct. In which city did Brazil win their second World Cup?
Santiago.
Correct. Against which team was an 1989 World Cup tie abandoned?
Chile.
2 points. Prior to 1989, when was the last time that Brazil was South American champions?
1949.
50. And that's the end of it. And you have taken your score to 24 points. Well done, Hugh. Well, now, here's the golfer in the middle. Richard Whitehead is a golfer, and we're going to ask you questions on World Match Play Championships. You have 4 points. I'm sure you'll add considerably to that in the 60 seconds that start now. Neil Coles was the first British finalist. Who was the second?
Sandy Lyle.
2 points. Only 3 men have won the title at least 3 times. Gary Player and Seve Ballesteros are 2. Can you name the third?
Greg Norman.
2 points. The biggest winning margin in the final is 6-5. Who was on the receiving end?
Jack Nicklaus.
Bernard Langer. How many players take part in the event each year?
12.
Correct. Who were sponsors of the event for the 2 years before Suntory
Colgate.
started their involvement?
Colgate.
2 points. The biggest winning margin ever in the championship was in 1979 when Tom Watson beat which man 11-9?
Dale Hayes.
Correct. Who is the only man to beat Gary Player in the final?
Hale Irwin.
2 points. Which man did Gary Player beat in 2 finals?
Jack Nicklaus.
Correct. Who was the last man to win the World Match Play and British Open title in the same year?
Seve Ballesteros.
Greg Norman. Only 2 men have appeared in 3 successive finals. Sandy Lyle is one. Can you name the
Hale
other?
Irwin.
Correct. Who did Gary Player beat in the longest final, which went to the 40th hole?
Bob Charles.
Graham Marsh. Who was the last non-Briton to appear in the final?
Bernhard Langer.
Greg Norman is the answer. And you have taken your score up to 20 points. Well done, Richard. It's a tremendous test of knowledge, that, and they've done well. So let's have a look at the scores at the end of 3 rounds, and we see that Bill Hatch from Canterbury is in 3rd place with 16. In 2nd place with 20 is Richard Whitehead. But the leader from Hull at the moment is Hugh Larkin with 24 points. So we'll take a brief break at this point just to get our breath back, and then we'll come back with the 4th round. That is the one that determines who goes into the head-to-head. So we'll be back with Sportsmasters in just a couple of minutes. Welcome back. Well, we're trying to give prizes all the way through this series of Sportsmasters. As you know, the winner today will receive some sports goods, but the winners of the quarterfinals have a choice of 3 prizes. They can either have a weight training bench with weights, a weatherproof leisure jacket, or a pair of pocket binoculars. And the winners of the semi-finals have a choice of 3 also. They could have either a home exercise bicycle, a zoom lens camera, or a miniature colored television set. That's their choice. But the immediate problem now is, is to find a winner of today. And we come to the 4th round. Let's have a look at the scores before we embark upon that. And we see that Bill Hatch from Canterbury is in 3rd place with 16 points. Richard Whitehead from Essex is in second place with 20, but Hugh Larkin from Hull is in the lead at the moment with 24 points. Fingers on the buzzers, fellas, and off we go. It's snooker, first of all. Who did Steve Davis defeat on the first occasion he became world champion? Yes, Hugh.
Doug Mountjoy.
2 points. Three-day eventing. Where were the 89 three-day event European Championships staged? Yes?
Burley.
Burley is correct, Bill. Rowing. In the 89 World Championships, who won a silver medal in the coxless pairs event, partnering Steve Redgrave? Yes?
Beresford.
Beresford is correct, 2 points. Tennis. Who made his Davis Cup debut in 72 when aged just 15 years, 10 months? Yes?
Bjorn Borg.
Bjorn Borg is correct, Bill. Rugby League. Which club plays its home matches at Weldon Road? Yes, Hugh.
Castleford.
Castleford is correct. Horse racing. Which race was first staged in 1780 when the winner was Dye? Yes?
St. Ledger.
It was the Derby, the Derby. You lose a point, Bill. Golf. Who was the first non-American to win the US Masters? Yes?
Gary Player.
Gary Player is correct. 2 points in the middle there. Motor racing. Which team has won the Formula One Construction Championship a record 8 occasions? Bill?
Ferrari.
Correct. 2 points. Which New Zealander Peter Bellis was world champion in this sport in 1984? Yes?
Bowles.
Bowles is correct, Bill. 2 points. Cycling. Who lost the 89 Tour de France by just 8 seconds? Yes, Hugh?
Fignon.
Fignon is correct. Motor racing. In which sport did James Hunt win the world... In which country did James Hunt win the World Drivers' Championship? Yes.
Japan.
Japan is right, Hugh. 2 points. Tennis. Who was Wimbledon men's singles champion in 67, 70 and 71? Yes, Richard.
John Newcombe.
John Newcombe is correct. 2 points. Ah, so close. And just failed to do it. Let me just give you the scores. We see that Richard Whitehead is in third place with 24 points. Just one ahead of him is Bill Hatch with 25. And the leader after 4 rounds is Hugh Larkin with 32 points. Richard, you tried so very hard. It's been a pleasure having you as a contestant, and I hope back at the golf club they don't give you too much stick.
I hope so too. Thank you very much for having me. Thoroughly
It's a great
enjoyed it.
pleasure. Thank you very much, Richard Whitehead. And so the head-to-head now is between the West Midlands and Cornwall. I should explain that Hugh Larkin comes from the West Midlands, but of course now he lives in Goole and works in Hull. And Bill Hatch comes from Cornwall, but he's now in the army at Canterbury. The scores are back to 0, and it's the first of the 3 rounds. A general sporting round, boxing for you, first of all, Hugh. Who defeated Lloyd Hannigan to take his WBC World Welterweight title in 89?
No.
Marlon Starling. Boxing also for you, Bill. Which Australian took the WBC light heavyweight title from Dennis Andrees?
Mitchell.
Jeff Harding. Jeff Harding. Horse racing, I should say, excuse me, for Hugh. On which horse did Steve Knight win the 1987 Grand National?
Mary Venture.
2 points. And horse racing for you too, Bill. What horse ridden by Howell Davis won the 85 Grand National? I'll have to press you.
Corbière.
No, last suspect. And cricket, Hugh, for which county did Patsy Hendren play?
Middlesex.
Middlesex is right, 2 points. And cricket for you too, Bill. For which county did Wilfred Rhodes make a record 881 appearances?
Surrey.
It was Yorkshire. Yorkshire. So at the end of that first round, we have no points so far for Bill Hatch. He's going to come fast, I feel quite sure. But holding him off will be Hugh Larkin, who has 4 points. Right, it's the action round, squash first, and a man who was almost unbeatable in the 80s. Well, almost.
For Gamal Awad at 9-all. And game ball. Remember, he served at the start of this rally. Jahangir in trouble. And it's down, and he's done it. And my goodness, no wonder he lets Jahangir off the court first. He must be delighted. What a sensational opening game that was. Remember, he was 8-1 down. They were on court for well over an hour. And it eventually went to Gamal Awad 10-9.
Well, I must say Jahangir was not often in trouble, was he? Jahangir, Bill, won 5 successive world titles, 81 to 85. Who succeeded him as champion in 1986?
Ross Norman.
2 points. And your question on squash, Hugh, who won the first 4 world championships prior to Jahangir?
Jeff Hunt.
Jeff Hunt is correct, 2 points. Now, finally, it's snooker, and Jimmy White, a victim of his own amazing cue power.
8. Ball stroke. 8, Jimmy White. 4, Cliff Thorman.
Well, Jimmy, trying a spectacular one, won't be too concerned. He's surely clinched this first frame, 70 points in front, just 51 on the table.
Well, that was a ranking tournament final back in '85. Jimmy, having gone to an 8-0 lead, actually lost it eventually to Cliff Thorburn, 12-10. Well, Bill, the competition was then known as the Goya Matchroom. What did it become?
Was it the Lauder Classic?
No, it became the Fidelity Unit Trust, the Fidelity Unit Trust. And your question, do you know where that tournament was played, Hugh?
Manchester?
It wasn't. It was played at Trentham Gardens, Stoke. Trentham Gardens, Stoke. So let's have a look at the scores now after 2 rounds of this head-to-head. And we see that Bill Hatch is off the mark with 2 points, but leading with 6 points at the moment is Hugh Larkin. Right, we'll call this the SAS round. He who dares wins. And you know about that in the army too, don't you, really, Bill? Right, it's fingers on the buzzers, and off we go. Rugby union. Who is Ireland's leading point scorer in internationals? Yes.
Michael Keenan?
Correct, 2 points. Rugby union, which country lost to New Zealand in the inaugural World Cup final? Yes,
France.
Bill. France is correct, 2 points. Cycling, how many times did Eddie Merckx win the Tour de France? Yes, Hugh.
5.
5 times is right. Which 1989 event was won by Jamarella, Juno, and Indulgence? Yes.
America's Cup.
The...
America's Cup.
No, it was the Admiral's Cup. The right sport, but the wrong answer. Motorsport, which sport did the Swede Ovi Funden win 5? Yes.
Speedway.
Speedway is correct, Sir Hugh. Which sport is the Swathling Cup contested? Yes.
Table tennis.
Are you right, Bill? 2 points. Motor racing, who was the first Austrian driver to be Formula One world champion?
Jochen Rindt.
2 points for you, Hugh. Cricket, which is the only county to win the Gillette Cup 3 years in succession? Yes.
Kent.
Lancashire, you lose a point. Football, which of the home countries was beaten 9-3 by England at Wembley in '61?
Scotland.
Scotland is correct, Bill. Rugby union, which club has won the Middlesex Sevens on most occasions?
Harlequins.
2 more points. Boxing, which Briton became a world champion by beating Rocky Mattiolo in 1979? Yes?
Maurice Hope.
2 points. Badminton, which country has won the Thomas Cup on most occasions?
Indonesia.
2 more points for you, Hugh. Question is, how many times has Lucinda Green won badminton, including wins as Prior Palmer? Have a guess? No? You don't want to? Well, the answer's 6. American football, which team plays at the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome? Yes.
Oh.
You wish you hadn't done it. Right.
Up in the north. No.
It's the Minnesota Vikings is the one I want. You lose a point. Speedway. Who partnered David Jessup to win the World Pairs title for England in 1980? Yes, Bill.
Michael Lee.
It was Peter Collins. Lacrosse, which... Oh! I'm going to ask the question, which country beat Great Britain 6-5 in the final of the Lacrosse Women's World Cup in 1989? Yes.
USA.
USA is right. 2 more points. And that's the end of the match. And we look at the scores and we see that Bill Hatch has 9 points. But the winner with 17 points is Hugh Larkin. We'll see you back for the quarter-final. Thanks very much for taking part, Bill. And we'll have you back, I'm sure, your company anyway, for the next edition of Sportsmasters. We'll see you next Saturday, same place, same town, and same time, rather. Until then, from all of us on the show, it's goodbye. Bye-bye.